We know these are difficult and challenging times, and we invite you to stay connected through worship services and Bible studies, whether online or in person.
Now, here are our upcoming announcements for this week.
And a reminder, you can give online or via Zelle. Any question about giving may be directed to the Bethany Finance Department.
Face to the wall and prayed unto the Lord, saying, I beseech thee, O Lord, remember now how I have walked before thee in truth and with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore. And it came to pass, afore Isaiah was gone out into the middle court, that the word of the Lord came to him, saying, Turn again, and tell Hezekiah the captain of my people, Thus saith the Lord, the God of David thy father, I have heard thy prayer, I have seen thy tears. Behold, I will heal thee. On the third day thou shalt go up unto the house of the Lord. I will add unto thy days 15 years. And I will deliver thee and this city out of the hand of the king of Assyria. I will defend this city for mine own sake and for my servant David's sake. And Isaiah said, Take a lump of figs. And they took and laid it on the boil, and he recovered. And Hezekiah said unto Isaiah, What shall be the sign that the Lord will heal me, and that I shall go up into the house of the Lord the third day? And Isaiah said, This sign shalt thou have of the Lord, that the Lord will do the thing that he has spoken. Shall the shadow go forward 10 degrees, or go back 10 degrees? And Hezekiah answered, It is a light thing for the shadow to go down 10 degrees, nay, but let the shadow return backward 10 degrees. And Isaiah the prophet cried unto the Lord, and he brought the shadow 10 degrees backward, by which it had gone down in the dial of Ahaz. At that time, Berodan Baladan, the son of Baladan, king of Babylon, sent letters and presents unto Hezekiah, for he had heard that Hezekiah had been sick. And Hezekiah hearkened unto them, and shewed them all the house of his precious things, the silver and the gold, and the spices and the precious ointment, all the house of his armor, and all that was found in his treasures. There was nothing in his house, nor in all his dominion, that Hezekiah shewed them not. Then came Isaiah the prophet unto King Hezekiah, and said unto him, What said these men, and from whence came they unto thee? And Hezekiah said, They are come from a far country, even from Babylon. And he said, What have they seen in thine house? And Hezekiah answered, All the things that are in mine house have they seen. There is nothing among my treasures that I have not shewed them. And Isaiah said unto Hezekiah, Hear the word of the Lord. Behold, the days come that all that is in thine house, and that which thy fathers have laid up in store unto this day, shall be carried into Babylon. Nothing shall be left, saith the Lord. And of thy sons that shall issue from thee, which thou shalt beget, shall they take away, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon. Then said Hezekiah unto Isaiah, Good is the word of the Lord which thou hast spoken. And he said, Is it not good if peace and truth be in my days? The rest of the answer of Hezekiah and all his might, how he made a pool and a conduit and brought water into the city, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And Hezekiah slept with his fathers, and Manasseh his son reigned in his stead.
Any questions? Any questions? You go back to chapter 19. You see that Hezekiah kind of going through the Assyrians were the bullies of the day. The Assyrians, are the captors of the northern kingdom. This time the northern kingdom has already been captured. They kind of threatened to invade Judah. Hezekiah's king of Judah, the southern. And so it looked kind of bad. Hezekiah, he was a praying kind of guy. And he was praying for God to help him. And there was some relief. And God let him know that they were going to be called away. And certainly they were. Ended up having to go and fight another war. And the last part, however, they're still being quite threatening. And he received a word of the prophet that they don't need to worry about this. God said, I'm going to take care of it. And you look at the last part of chapter 19, and the Bible says God killed 185,000 soldiers with the sword. Didn't live to famine. God killed them all. That's the way he chapter 19. Chronologically, that's the thing, when you read Kings, you don't know what's chronological. One writer said that this chapter 20 really goes before 18, but I don't know. But anyway, when we start out in chapter 20, Hezekiah is in a bad way. He's in a bad way. It starts out with, in those days, he was sick. He was so sick, he was at the point of death. And if that wasn't enough, the prophet Isaiah comes to him and says, get your house in order. You're going to die. Mm-hmm. If the illness didn't get it right, the prophet validates it. Yeah. God said, you're going to die. That's a sermon right there. Get your house in order. How many of you have your house in order? You have to die right now. Is everything in order? What's on your tablet? What's on your computer? How many pictures JP got to delete before he died? What message? Do you have your wheel in order? What's going to happen when you leave? Children say, set your house in order. It's like that. It behooves us to always keep things in order. You never know which day is your last day.
Oh, yes.
You never know how much time you got left. You need to get things in order. He's about 39 years old. The word comes to him that you're going to die. Well, like I said Sunday, tragedy is not the biggest surprise you'll get. All of us have to face tragedies. The question is, how will you respond to the tragedy? The Bible says Hezekiah prayed. When things got bad, he started praying. You say what you want. It appears when Hezekiah was praying, praying in chapter 19, now he's praying. The Bible says he turned his face to the wall, prayed to the Lord. Remember, I have walked before you faithfully with wholehearted devotion. Have done what is good in your eyes. The Bible says that he wept bitterly. Remember, I've been a pretty good guy. I've been faithful. I've been God-fearing man. Hezekiah was one of the better kings of Israel. He was one that was more sensitive to the will of God than a lot of kings. As we're going to see later, he did have his weaknesses here. One writer surmises that sometimes many of them live a good life, and the last third of their life seems like they lose it. Kind of slip, but he was a praying man. He was trying to do God's will, and now at 39, he's going to die. He's going to die. But he prayed. And he's praying for God to extend his life. He said, you know, I've been a pretty good guy. I've done what you wanted. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Well, ain't too many people want to die. Not too many people want to die. Question maybe to ask though is dying the worst thing? Death is not the problem. Not being prepared to die is the problem. Well, let's look at the Bible says, before Isaiah had left the middle court, the word of the Lord came to him, go back and tell Hezekiah, the ruler of my people, this is what the Lord, the God of your father David says, I have heard your prayer and seen your tears. I'm going to hear you. I'm going to hear you. That's a sermon right there. That's your climax. He got word he's going to die. He prays. He prays, weeps bitterly. He prays sincerely. And God answers his prayer. In fact, God answers his prayer, man. The prophet didn't even get a chance to leave the palace. So he middle-way his coat. God said, hey, turn around and look at him. Tell him I heard his prayer. I've responded. You know, I can preach that thing right there. You know how God responds to our prayer, how God is sensitive to our tears. That when you're praying man, when you're praying woman, you should know God does hear and answers our prayer. I would say, however, kind of push you in there, be careful what you pray. Be careful what you pray. I found out in my lifetime, it's not the stuff that God tells you no that you got to concern yourself. You need to concern yourself with when he says yes. And sometimes God, it's that part. Remember that parable Jesus gave about the widow who was bothering the king every day. Every day she begging the king, every day. And the Bible said it was a wicked king in Jesus' story. It says that the wicked king said, I'm tired of this woman bothering me every day. I'm going to go ahead and give her what she asked me for. Because she bothered me. And Jesus said, now if a wicked king has that kind of spirit, you know God will respond to your continuous prayer.
Yeah.
He said to the prayer because of his importunity. He said he didn't want to get up and get a man no bread. He said, but because of his importunity, because he kept on knocking, he got up. When you keep on praying, sometimes God will say yes to something he had originally said no to. Be careful what you pray.
You say about the worship, even in church, you don't have to keep praying to God about the same time. Once you pray the first time, He heard it.
Yeah, don't keep praying for the same thing. The problem I have with it, number one, it goes against what Scripture says. Yeah, see, Scripture doesn't really say that. Now, it's a difference between praying because you don't believe that God can, or God will answer your prayer. And then, you know, if you ain't got God got the thing settled, that's what it's saying. So I'm saying Sunday. There's a difference between knowing about God and knowing God. You know, you raised by one of the mamas that, you know, if you ask your mama something, she say, yeah, or nay. You know, you don't ask about that before. Because what I know already, I just said, I'll answer that. In fact, you ask her the second time, she might look.
Yeah.
I know you couldn't ask my mama and she say no, and you turn around and you go ask your dad. You know, now dad don't tell us, you know, you might have a miracle, But more than likely, she gonna find out you asked him, oh man, you got some whipping time coming. You gonna ask him, I already told you no. That's what I'm talking about. You might get you two whippings. You done use me against your mama. So that's the thing, that's the balance. Is that are you praying to be consistent or because to continue? Or are you praying because you don't believe God heard your prayer? So if I know God heard you, and I know God can and will, He leave it alone. You know. See, my thing is this, and that's what these boys now they be corner guys. But you pray for God to heal brother so and so got cancer. God heal this man of this cancer. You know, and then say, if it's your will. You don't need to ask God if it's his will. You know it's God. Well, I don't take that notion. I'm no proposer. I'm wise enough to know God's will. But yeah, God permits some things to happen. God allows us to get sick. God allows certain tragedies in our lives. God uses things to bring His will about. Mm-hmm. So that's the dilemma there. Yeah, you got to have that balance. And my thing is, your attitude toward God makes the difference. God is sovereign. I can't question God. You know, see the difference. I can ask God a question, but I can't question God. That's what we got to get that. It's asinine to say God is the wisest being in the universe, and then turn around and you can't ask him a question. But if he knows everything, he's the one you ought to be asking the question. Mm-hmm. But you can't question his sovereignty. You can't question his right to do what it is he wants to do. So whatever he wants to do, that's his will. But now, if I'm praying, saying, Lord, I'm trying to find out what's your will. Is this what you want for me? Lord, how shall I proceed? What is my next step? That's a little different. That's a good question. Anybody else got something right?
Think about what you said, exactly how you believe in the spirit. But this morning, the son definitely said, she asked the Lord, heal her son. Then you will heal her son. She'll let the Lord heal her son, but he will heal last person.
Yeah. Well, look at right here. I get ahead of myself next week. But, you know, God added 15 years to the life of Hezekiah. But next week we're going to talk about Manasseh. Manasseh was Hezekiah's son. He was 12 years old when he took the throne. Think about it. Got 15 years added. His boy is 12. Manasseh was the most wicked king in the history of Israel. He turned the whole nation against God, broke every rule he could break. Well, part of that is because of 15 years. Mm-hmm. If he had 15 years, he would have had that problem. Mm-hmm. But we're about to talk about the petition of that. I already got ahead of myself. Let's back up that train. In reverse. So then, this is what the Lord, the God of your father David says, I heard your prayer, seen your tears, I will heal you. On the third day from now, you will go up to the temple of the Lord, and I will add 15 years to your life, and I will deliver you and this city from the hand of the king of Assyria, and I will defend this city for my sake and for the sake of my servant David. So now he says, God says, not only am I going to heal you, but I'm going to give you the victory over the Assyrians. I told you last week, 19 ain't supposed to happen yet. It's happened on 12:19. So he basically, not only is he going to heal Hezekiah, he's also going to give him the victory over the Assyrians. I told you he ended up killing like maybe 5,000 those. All right? Look at, then Isaiah said, prepare approaches of whole types of figs. They did so and applied it to the oil, and he recovered. So they had some kind of fig concoction. But wait a minute, God said he's going to heal the man, and y'all put figs. And that's the problem with some people. They won't act like if you depend on God to heal you, you're not supposed to take it in medicine. And you got to understand God can use medicine to heal you.
Yeah.
I was in California, great pastor, I call his name, I ain't do that stuff. He was preaching that stuff about, you don't use no medicine, you just trust God and blah, blah, blah. And they said that man's wife died because he refused to let her have a blood transfusion. Because he didn't believe blood transfusion was of God. She ended up dying, and a blood transfusion could have saved her life. I don't think God is in accordance with that kind of mentality. You know that certain medicines can heal somebody that you don't take on all that if God's weakness. Like a lot of people have these immune shots from that pandemic. Always trying to blame God. That you don't know what means God is going to use in order to bring about your healing. So, I got to understand God can use anything and everything to work in my life. So, the figs were applied to his oil, but God healed him. See, you can take the medicine and still die. But the final answer is God that heals you. You can have surgery and they remove the cancer, but it's God that has to do the healing. And what the doctors say, doctors, God can cut you up, but God is going to make you heal now. They put all kind of patches on and everything. They got people tell you, there's some wounds that didn't heal. God that makes the healing possible. Think about it, it's a miracle. You cut your finger and your blood starts clotting up and stop that finger from bleeding. You can just put a little pressure on it. A miracle. Do you know you can bleed to death? There are some people, there are some children, their blood don't clot. And you got to see that their moms have to watch them close. They can be out playing and just nick themselves. And when you nick yourself, it's on the swing, and they come, and almost a pool of blood was dripping. She didn't feel no pain. They talk about people don't feel pain. And they were saying, that's a good thing, I don't feel no pain. Well, it's not all good, because see, pain is the signal to let you know something ain't right. And you run there and don't feel any pain, and you run there, something dangerous out, you can cut yourself, but you don't feel it. Everything feels good. And you can go around there and lose your life because you didn't feel the pain. That's another thing. Pain is a warning. Pain is a warning. I can feel it. All right. Y'all feel it? Y'all follow me so far?
I don't know where you go now. Ask somebody else. I ain't know.
What is it like pain?
One old. He said, pain is weakness, leaving the body.
Okay, great.
That's the Marine
Pain
slogan.
is weakness, leaving the body. Well, I think
That's the book.
well, I'm thinking the thing that is more applicable in that setting. They said, whatever don't kill you makes you stronger. I think that's the logic there. Whatever don't kill you makes you stronger. See, when we were kids, our coach, he would let us have no water on the side. When we got water, man, the boys had their girlfriends to put some water in the towel. And they bring the towel there, they bring the towel with water, bring the towel, drink the water out the towel. That sounds nasty to me. I thought it was nasty too, till I was out there, you get thirsty enough. That towel water tastes good. the time my senior year come along, they integrated the coaching staff, and they had some stuff. You know, they had Gatorade and all that stuff on the sideline. They realized that starving them like that ain't really making them stronger. That you're better off if you're hydrated and working out. Get over that dying of thirst. You see, when we were thirsty, yeah, it pushes us to some new limits, but we aren't as strong as we could have been had we been hydrated and been able to run a little more.
Yeah.
Do a little more. Yeah, you work better when you're full, when somebody's been eating. You know, then somebody that started, you got a man starving to death, but he could work hungry, but he ain't gonna work as good as he would work had he been able to have some food in. So that's another sign. That's something Mississippi for us. I'm saying this is, man, all of us at the same time. All right. Hezekiah had asked Isaiah, what will be the sign that the Lord will heal me, and that I will go up to the temple of the Lord on the third day from now? Am I the only one who had questions about this? God has said, I'm going to heal you, and you want the sign. God said, I'm going to heal you. Then I'm going to heal you. On the third day, you're going up to the temple. How long is the sign? One comes, they say, I don't see no problem with signs. No, that's the problem with a lot of folks. They want the signs. Always want God to prove himself. You know, and it goes against this whole notion of we should walk by faith and not by sight. You know, if God says, that's what we were talking about earlier, we were talking about just one. If God says something, I shouldn't need a sign. I shouldn't need a sign. If God said it, that's enough. See, that's the difference between spiritual maturity and immaturity. Yes, ma'am.
Didn't we check in the Bible where someone asked God to show us or something like that? God showed us something.
Yeah, I mean, don't get it twisted now. There are sometimes you're seeking guidance, you're asking for a sign. It's not wrong to ask for a sign. I'm saying it's wrong to ask God for a sign after he told you what he's going to do. It's like Gideon.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
He
he
asked
told him,
twice.
I'm going to give you the victory. Oh, but now, Lord, let me tell you, I believe you. But Lord, listen, I need you to show me some proof. You know, let the fleece get wet and all around it be dry. And the Bible says God answered that request. And as I'm thinking, oh, boy, I ain't satisfied. Oh, no, Lord, don't get mad. Don't get mad. But this time, let all the grass be wet and the fleece be dry. See what I'm saying? The sign is one thing. I see, saying this balance. Sometimes I'm asking for a sign because I'm trying to get clarity. That's what I was talking about earlier. See, don't ever get it in your mind that God has a problem with you trying to get clarity. And that means praying sometimes for something I've prayed for already. Many times, Lord, I'm not sure. See, God, I don't see where God, well, get this good sign of that. God will ever get upset with you about trying to be sure of his will for your life. How can I proceed in his will when I'm not certain? Lord, yeah, I'm kind of slow. I'm kind of spiritually retarded, Lord. I apologize. But I need to know this is what your will is. I need to know this is what you want me to do. But see, here we're not talking about Hezekiah knowing what he's supposed to do. We're talking about God doing what he said he's going to do. Sometimes I got to know how to just wait on God. So yeah, I see what you're saying. There's no problem. Won't see a sign. There are times when it's appropriate. But you know, when God says something, I'm trying to think of another instance now. You know, God has told us what he wants, and then we still say, God showed me. But I can tell you a lot of it now. Pick on nobody. Pick on nobody. Church. God shows you the weak. Now, when I go contrary to God's will, you turn that thing around too.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, let's get it. When Moses sent the spies to Kadesh Barnea, he sent 12 spies in. Why did he send those spies in? To spy out the land? You already know what they're gonna do. He said, I'm gonna give you the land. Yeah. But I want you to send the spies so they'll bring a report. Huh? So he already give you the word, but the Bible says 10 of the spies came back with a bad report. They got all these grapes so heavy they had to carry the things on some stakes between some men. You know, say, oh man, the land is full of milk and honey. It's all good. Man, we've seen the biggest grapes we've ever seen. Figs, it's plenty. But that's giants. And the Bible says they were so engrossed with the concept of the giants, it intimidated them from going to possess the land. Caleb and Joshua, they walking by faith. But the rest of them, and God will never. That's what I'm talking about. There's a difference between Caleb, Joshua, and Moses' attitude and the attitude of those 10 spies. And sometimes we mess up our life. We miss our blessings because we're intimidated by the enemy instead of walking by faith. Yeah, I can say some more, man. I don't want to pick up about it. Isaiah said, the Lord's sign to you is that the Lord will do what he has promised. Shall the shadow go forward or backwards? Which one do you want? And because it's easy for the shadow to go forward. I want that sucker to go back. Now, you know, back then they talk about sundown. Most people think you talk about sundown and say, well, rather than the sun going forward, tends that it go back to instead. But I've seen some of the things sound like the cities talk about the temple that they had to build temples to those idols. And so they had steps. You know, like in the sun, if you know anything about the sun, at 12 noon, the sun is directly over your head. And when it's directly over your head, you don't have a whole lot of shadow. The shadow comes when it's either in the morning or in the evening. Yeah. In my yard, my house faces east and west. So in the morning, my backyard is full of sunlight. But my house is 2 stories, so in my front yard, nothing but shade. Front yard is shade because the sun can't hit the front yard because the house blocks the light. So all you see in the front yard is the shadow that the house and the trees make. It's covered, y'all feel it? At 12 noon, the sun is in my backyard and my front yard because it's overhead. In the evening time, by this time, the front yard is lit up and the shade in the backyard. Y'all see what I'm talking about? Okay. Now, you can almost tell what time it is when you've been living that long by where the shade is. Early in the morning, the whole front yard full of shade. on the street. As the day progresses, that son start walking back. So he's saying, what do you want? You want the shade to go forward or back? If you want it to go forward, then that means they proceed like you proceed. But he's talking about steps. He's saying that 12 o'clock is all lit up. As the sun moves, the shade increases on the east side. So that the first step is covered in shade. Then later in the day, the second step, later the third, fourth. He said, okay, what do you want the sun to do? Go forward or back? Say the shade is all the way down to the fifth step. You want to let it go to the sixth, seventh, and eighth step. Say, nah, that's too easy, because that's what it's going to do anyway eventually. I want that bad boy to back up. It's on the fifth step. I want that sucker to come back to step number one. I want it to back up. That's unusual. But the Bible says that's what happened. He backed up. Now, one writer said they had a writing said that there was something the great said they had a time in history when the day was extra long. But my thing is this: you got to understand something about God. It's possible for God to handle that situation, and that situation only applies where they are. You see what I'm saying? It's possible for God to let time stand still all over the world and back it up. But it's possible for God to let the time be normal anywhere else, except right here. And make that sun go back right here. Y'all feel? We'll act like she was back there. All right. Then the prophet Isaiah called on the Lord, and the Lord made the shadow go back. The 10 steps had gone down on the stairway of Ahaz. That's why I see what I see. At the time, I got a name here, Marduk Baladan, the son of Baladan. I think the King James got a little different. But anyway, what you got here is that's talking about the king of Babylon. King of Babylon sent letters and a gift to Hezekiah because he was sick. Now, here's another instance. None of this would have happened if homeboy would have died. But he didn't die. He was sick, trying to recover. Well, we're going to be recovered already. But the king of Babylon sent him some gifts. And some other king that said, hey man, we think about you, heard you've been sick. I want you to know we will send you a gift card. And fruit basket. Okay. Now, they came to visit homeboy. Homeboy tripping. He decides to show them all of his treasure. Not just some of them, all of them. Not all of the treasures he had accumulated, the treasures that were accumulated by the kings before him. David, Solomon, all of them, the temple, all that stuff. Now let me tell you something. You can't let everybody come to your house. First of all, you can't even let all your cousins come to your house. Cousin Bobo ain't got no business. But if you're crazy enough to let them come, don't show them all your stuff. I'm telling them I knew several friends, they bragged about the fact they had. Don't worry about nobody stealing their gun because they got a gun chest. Got a gun chest right there, and they put their guns gun safe, I should say. Put the guns in the safe to make sure that nobody can steal it. Well, you can't let, which that thing was, you can't let gun Bobo know that you got a gun safe. Because you also tell him you got some guns. Because Bobo will come get the guns and the safe. And haul it out. I'm not safe with him. I got the crowd. They ain't different. If you got one, they can open it up. Have you ever thought about if something happened to you down there, things you can't remember your combination? What you gonna do? You gonna call a locksmith. Huh? Locksmith gonna do what? He gonna open up your safe. Have you ever thought about sometimes Cousin Bobo work for the locksmith? And just like the locksmith not open, Cousin Bobo can open that sucker too. All I'm saying is you can't show folks everything that you have is not good. But the next question comes. Why would he want to show his stuff? Huh? Pride. He wants to show you what he's accumulated. I mean, for a man who's so strong, this is a good king. He does so much, but look at what's happening now. He begged for some additional years, which is no problem. I can almost see that. But we see it now, the additional years ain't happening. You got to be real careful. See, when you run with the wrong crowd, if you're not careful, you start putting your values in the wrong place. You know, why you got to show people what you got?
Some people like that.
Why you got to show them all you own? That truck I got there. People, I had that truck since 2005. No, but we ain't know I owned it. My daddy came to my house several times. Had it parked in the garage. He knows in the garage. You don't show everything today. You got to talk about everything you can. Because see, sometimes we put value on the wrong stuff. I'm gonna thank Boa Coach because he got a GMC truck with a fancy tailgate. So, I'm gonna thank more that he had his Escalade. I mean, I'm glad. I like to see people prosper. I like to see people get better. But now, don't get so caught up that you start. Be careful what you brag about. Sometimes what you brag about say where your values are. What you brag about say where your values are. You're putting your priorities in the wrong place. And that comes from hanging out with the wrong folks. Some folks, man, they think if they live in a certain neighborhood, they think they're superior to folks. If they got a bigger house, they think they're better than folks. They drive a certain kind of car, they think they're better than folks. You gotta be careful putting those kind of values in the wrong place. Now, what he should have done? What could he have done? You got these people, these heathen kings. Instead of him bragging about his stuff, his treasure, he should have brought him to the temple. Should have been bragging about his God. Should have been bragging about the God of Israel, how God has led his forefathers out of Egypt. Should talk about how God parted the Red Sea, how God divided the Jordan, how God used the prophet to separate the Jordan. Instead of bragging about his stuff, he should have been bragging about the Lord. Now you think about that. How many of us, how many people you know bragging on God? Shoot, man, they stuff is what stopped them from coming to church. You used to come to church before they had a house. But now they got a house, they got to stay home to cut the grass. They have no problem with black folk coming to church. But now they got a boat, they got to go fishing. Fish don't bite on Saturday. They only bite on Sunday. They don't bite Sunday night. They only Sunday morning. I'm talking about that. I can't come to church because I have things to do. Stuff like that. You talking about 2 hours. 10 to 12. What is, you can't, on the Lord's day, this is the Lord's day, but I got too much other stuff to do. Think about that. So busy doing what we got to, doing my important stuff. It's kind of sad. But that's the kind of world we live in. It's the kind of world we live in.
I can attest to that. I remember when I first started coming. I always, never stop. Every Sunday, always invite me.
Sunday.
Correct. At that time, I was doing stuff. Cowboy Stadium, whatever they do. Hard. But he never ceased. Not just me. All the brothers that he would encounter.
Just think if every member of that had that same attitude. Except Mike, I'm telling you all about Mike. Now, he might go to sleep on the service. But Mike gonna invite some men to sing in that choir. You have a lot of men, just think if every man, every woman would say, try to get some man to sing in that choir. If everybody would invite somebody to come to church. If everybody would invite members who come to church to come to Sunday school. If everybody invite folks to do better. Man, can you see what kind of how powerful that is? I see the other stuff. We don't mind doing the other stuff. You invite me to get up another car. It almost now, Jackie Ross bought a car just like mine. I know some people be mad if you buy a car. But so I said, you think you ought to give me some permission, man. Then when my members started buying Lexus out there, seen me before. But the thing is that it ain't about all that. All that stuff, man. Well, it's time to upgrade. No, it ain't. As long as my car running, I don't need to upgrade. Well, the reason I like Lexus, but they look alike. The new one looks like the old. But you got to, that's better than somebody. Because of what you drive. Some people, you're a young man, you're single. They got some people pay more attention to you because you drive a Honda truck, but I'm sorry.
When you're old, they don't look at it.
And Mac work with them, I know. Serious. You say your hair didn't get good. Every can't come on annual day. That's but seriously, you have to get our priorities straight, and we need to be focused on the things of the Lord. Just think if everybody's concerned about everybody else's spiritual growth and development. You're trying to help everybody get closer spiritually. Everybody wants to come to prayer. Yeah, thank you. Just be this. If we had a praying church. Praying church. Can you see the difference what God could do? You folks instead of bragging about what the Lord has done. Well, Isaiah come back and tell you. You know what? Since you showed the people all your stuff, the Lord said they're gonna come back and get it. All that stuff they're gonna take it.
Yeah.
It's gonna take every last bit of it and take it to battle.
Yeah.
History tells us that's exactly what happened. All your sons gonna be taken back to Babylon as slaves, and they're gonna be eunuchs. So if they're eunuchs, that means he ain't gonna have no grandchildren. Whole nation gonna be in desolation. You wanna show them your stuff? You gonna end up with no stuff. Guess what homeboy said? That's good. That's good. What? How you gonna get good out of that? And you know what the response is? Well, that's good. Because that means nothing's going to happen during my lifetime.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen during my lifetime. I mean, all that's going to happen after I'm dead. That's good. That's good. I don't think it's selfish. It's sad. But isn't that kind of what we're dealing with today? Your politicians, they're not politicians. See, different between a politician and a state. A politician is trying to get to the next election. The state is trying to work for the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that if these people were cognizant of climate change, that they would be slowly moving toward making the earth better?
Hmm.
They ain't worried about no oil polluting the world. They ain't worried about no fossil fuels. They don't worry about electric cars and windmills. All they worry about is making it, especially Texas, all state. We want our money right now. What about no children? I ain't gonna be here. I don't care what happens after I'm dead. As long as I got my money now. As long as I got my stuff now. Selfish. That's kind of what we're living. I mean, if we weren't selfish, we'd take some of these stands we taking now. All this plastic polluting the rivers, waters. We're not worried about our kids. Used to be people live for their kids. They raise their kids right. You know, you can't expect these kids to be a whole lot if they don't bring them to church. See what's happening, don't come themselves. That God is the best thing happening. If God is all that, why don't you bring them to the Lord? Why don't you teach them about God? Why don't you show them about God? When I was a boy, they taught us how to pray. When I was a boy, children, I know grown folks, children knew the 23rd song. I knew the first song when I was a kid. 23rd song when I was a kid could recite it. Dumb boys, dumb girls like recite 23rd song. These kids don't even know if it's in the Old Testament or the New Testament. Talk about children. These children around there shooting each other. What you expect? They don't have no God fearing in them. They don't know nothing about the Lord. They've not been taught right from wrong. What do you expect? That's a good thing. Not gonna have to do with my lifetime. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. What do we leave? What's going to be our legacy? What is our contribution? The one thing our forefathers had that we don't seem to have, they had a consciousness of the next generation. Mm-hmm. They really marveled, especially on Martin Luther King's birthday and Black History Month, all that about this. That black folk who have benefited from the sacrifices of our forefathers, going around here with their head, nose in the air like they have accomplished something. When they haven't accomplished a thing, they're just reaping the seeds that those old dumb black folk planted. Mm-hmm. Those slaves who said, I want to make sure our future generations get an education.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to make sure that they have opportunities I don't have. They benefit. I told y'all before, when I walked out, when I was working a summer job, I was in college working a summer job, and I was making more money than my daddy ever made on the job he'd been working all his life. Now, I couldn't brag about I got that money and that job because I was in college. But if it wasn't for my dad, I wouldn't have been in college. I was going to go join the Air Force. He didn't want to talk to me going to college. I wasn't going to college. I wasn't going to want to be around there with my mom. And he said, I never in my wildest imagination ever imagined me doing anything but going to college. He admitted me going. I was gonna go to college for clean. I was gonna go in the military and give me some money and get one of those military. Because I figured, he got all these Trump statues. There were 6 of us. I'm the oldest, I'm on that. Because me and my brother came out the same year. He said, I never imagined it. Now, how is it? I'm graduating, got a degree in engineering, making more money than my daddy ever dreamed of me. But how is it I'm gonna feel that I'm superior to him? But he's the reason. He's the one who helped me make the decisions to get to where I am. The sacrifices he made is what got me here. I don't feel like I've accomplished it. We got privileges, benefits. The only reason we got them because somebody else paid the way. Question, what are we paying for? What are we doing for our children? What do we have to look forward to? What are we leaving them? What kind of legacy are we leaving them? Our children ought to have it better than we did. But while they get it better, they need to know something about the Lord.
Yeah.
You know something about the Lord. Thank you, this Lord was not tripping, man. But that thing too clean.
It's the bottom of your tennis shoe.
That's what it is.
I got these sketches,
Yeah.
and when you just did that, I do it every time I'm in this room.
Yeah.
It really sticks.
Yeah, it gripped it. Man.
Yeah. So I feel you.
Not the trip though, if I want to run it back out of field.
Yeah, I feel you. I do it. Matter of fact, I probably do it with everybody too.
Them old running back reflexes came in, right? I can't hear you still. I'm through, y'all. I'm saying he died and buried with his father. Any questions, comments about the lesson tonight, Hezekiah?
So, oh, this is the first note section.
Right.
Something changed after we got the blessing. I think you know that gives you a house Lord. At the end, it shows you did not. You got to believe you didn't have a house Lord.
But one guy was saying that he should have went on to heaven when God was calling. I said, well, that's not the right assessment because Hezekiah don't know anything about heaven. His theology didn't lend itself to that mentality. A lot of them, they felt like when you're dead, you're done. But it said something like I said earlier, where it said the third, seemed like the final third of his life, he went awry. Cut off the stuff. And I think that's applicable because a lot of times we start off, and you get the nail on the head, and you're really talking about two different things, two different lives. But then you have the same thing happen to Solomon. David. See, a lot of times we start off good, and we start off close to God, and we start off leaning on God, and we start off allowing God to guide us. But the problem with God guiding you is as God guides you, he prospers you. He prospers you. And I keep telling us, is that the most dangerous time in your life is not when you're in want, not when you're hungry. The most dangerous time is when God blesses. If you're not careful, your blessings will mess you up. You'll forget the blesser for the blessing. Instead of you owning your blessings, you start allowing your blessings to own you. Like I said, it's not hard, man. That's why, I find out, I used to go to conventions, hang around certain preachers, always hanging around them guys in big churches, with education. I like Man, I used to have better conditions in the hallway than some Negroes after the session. Because I'm picking these guys. I'm trying to get all the knowledge I can get. I never did concern myself that I didn't go to seminary first. Because what I did is hang around seminary. I was like a sponge, trying to soak up knowledge. I spent a lot of my time with old preachers. Young boys thought, you think you all that. Man, I'm going to get the oldest dope I can get. Most wisdom. I'm trying to get all this knowledge. I hang around with old people in my church. I'm hanging around with them. They 80, 90 years old. I'm in my 20s. I ain't hanging out with them. If they 90, he must know something.
They know something. They know something.
You know, what you doing to get to 90?
Yep.
You know, start taking notes. But now, you know, he's 90, he's 90, she 80, she 80. All of them got this common. All of them got this in common.
Yep.
But I can't tell you, but now, if you want to live to be 80 or 90, you might ought to try to keep these things in mind. See? Well, that's the thing. But Doc, I started noticing something. I had some friends with some bad habits. You know, I'm trying to get the good stuff, but I started noticing something. When you hang around folks with those kind of habits, if you're not careful, you'll start thinking like them.
Mm-hmm.
You start picking up some of that stuff subconsciously. You don't do it consciously. You do it subconsciously. And I found out in order for me to be the man that God had me to be, I had to stop hanging out with certain folks. But I know every time I hang out with certain guys, I always end up doing something I had no business doing, just close to doing something. It's not that I was better than them, not because I was holier than them. It's just that I had to understand I was not spiritually strong enough to hang out with that bunch and be who God wanted me to be. And so that's the thing. As God prospers us, as God blesses us, we have to be conscious of the fact. We have to stay focused. Stay focused. See, that's when the devil will get you. That's when the devil will get you. Ain't no fool like old fool. Man was building my house. Guys who built the church that I pastored, contractor. The Lord thinks so. He's retired, contractor, but he helped me build a home for my foundation. And while he was there, he didn't go to church, but he was there. He said, real, ain't no fool like an old fool. You know, I knew some stuff about me, didn't know I know. He's out there, we out there in that sun working, he's confessing. But he's not telling me when he confessing, just trying to help me. Say, yeah, I'm old man, I got money. He said, but real, ain't no fool like an old fool. Makes sense. You know, I knew some girlfriends he had. Some people he was drinking with and trying to mess with their wives. Real and old fool, like old fool. If you're not careful, the devil will wait till you get old to make you act fool. And you got to learn how to stay focused. So, yeah, that's not just Hezekiah. If you're not careful, it can happen to all of us. The more the Lord blesses us, the worse we can get. That's why when God blesses you, I just talked about abundant life. Learn how to use your blessings to be a blessing.
Yeah.
God blesses you, use that to help bless somebody else. Instead of going the wrong way, use that to help you go the right way. So they got this stuff they talk about you Catholic priests, molesting you little boys, Boy Scout leaders. And then they found out they're talking about Southern Baptist church that had some people. Well, truth be told, that was going on in all the churches. That was going on in all neighborhoods. I told you one of the biggest surprises I had as a pastor is you'd be surprised how many people in our congregations have been molested as children. You'd be surprised how many people in our congregation, not just Bethany, all over this country. A lot of folk were molested as children. A blessed by somebody. That's sad. Correct that. We ought to be able to have some God-fearing men who, instead of trying to mess up a child, trying to help a child. Trying to help a child, trying to make a boy into a real strong man instead of homosexual. And so we have to do what we can do. I can't change the world, but I can make sure. I can't change all the churches, I can make sure that they got their stuff. You know, we was looking at the insurance, they talking about buying insurance in case somebody sues you. I said, I got some better insurance. Make sure that you ain't got nobody over your children. Who's trying to hurt you.
Yeah.
There's some things you can do. Some things you ought not do. Questions, comments? The one you got a question? Scared to ask it.
Watermelon on the table.
Ask him what happened to people that's what they want.
We gonna slice it up after.
See, I just have to tell you about people who hurt people. Now, she didn't learn from her situation. Now she's trying to get my new member killed too.
Me and the one are going down there. Yeah.
She said,
He done like Hezekiah. He brought these folks here and showed them all.
He done showed it. He's showing it. He done showed it.
Now calling you up Hezekiah.
Now he gonna be rebuked. He gonna be rebuked.
I ain't gonna touch, I'm gonna shoot.
Woo.
I was telling about a watermelon that man is supposed to raise for me. And when I got there, I was kind of disappointed in them little watermelons, but it was about the same size, you know, but they were sweet. Bad boys were sweet. And that watermelon cost me $12. I mean, $11. $11. They lived in the watermelon right there. Coach bought me that used to be free. Coach bought it. It's just hard to come by a good watermelon. So I don't mind paying for a good one. I hope that's a good one. You can't eat it. Yeah, that's more for me. When they bring you one, you bring this back. Now, it's really hard to find a good watermelon now. They don't really raise them like they used to. When I was in Mississippi, about this long, I'm not that long. It wasn't no dark like that. It was dead, something like that, yellow tea, but it was like this long, the green stripes. And man, I had forgotten how good a watermelon could be. That was boy sliced that bad ball. I used to think about the Clinton boys taking that heart out. That's what he did. That's the first time I had changed it. It was like eating sugar. Like eating sugar. She said, man, let's do another. I said, man, I'm gonna finish this right here. Oh, really? I'm out of the whole field up there, man. I don't care. We can do another one. I'm gonna finish it first. I ain't tasted watermelon this week since I was born. I'm not even sure it was that good then. But I forgot how good a watermelon really could taste. I told him to do it. You know what to do.
yes, I do. I can go knock on the table.
Go there and thump it, girl. Go on, thump that
Let me tell
watermelon.
you something. They got chemicals they put in the watermelon now. They be hard, you know, like it's crunchy and all that. Ain't nothing but a red. Red is his shirt. Nothing but that. Chemicals. Ain't that ain't real.
I haven't taken it in a long time.
Boy, thank you still that
I
If
got
I-
fresh tomatoes, my client brought me in her garden and chopped.
If I know I had enough for everybody, it's like potato pie. If I can make enough for all of y'all, I can make y'all potato pie. You got to wait your turn. Now, JP got one in his garden. He's a better preacher than me. He might say.
I'll take it.
Sister Arlene Johnson lost her mama. Let's be prayerful for her while she is experiencing that bereavement. Lift up Sister Ola, Lola Chris. I talked to Doug today. She had a good report. She's doing better. She started walking and running again. So let's keep praying. Keep praying. God continue to bless her. Pray Sister Maple. I heard her sugar gone up to 900.
Mm.
Said they got it back down. Yeah.
Yeah, that high.
I was listening to, I didn't realize she was this day, but what's called, James Williams said his had got up to 600. But he was saying how his couldn't get too low. If his get too low, he would be in the worst shape than if it was high.
Mm.
Yeah.
But she was saying how people who are diabetic will have larger numbers than just normal people. See, normal like 120,
90 to 110.
Yeah. But see, you talking about 100, talking about high.
Yeah, if your blood sugar gets really low, it's a heck of a feeling because I've got mine.
Well, you can faint.
Yeah,
I'm really
yeah.
talking about high blood pressure. They say low blood pressure is worse than high.
Yeah, you'll get a groggy feeling and it's really, really bad.
That's why they all talk about a piece of candy or something.
Yeah, like, a couple of weeks ago I had asked you.
Yeah.
That's what it's mine, but I had switched. I've been on a different kind of insulin. So the thing of it is that when you take your insulin, I have a bad habit of not eating something. By the time I drive from Fort Worth and get here and get busy, next thing I know, when I rang, I said, man, you got some candy? But I got some tablets now.
Yeah.
Because I had to use them. I've used them, and they help. But it's hard to keep that down.
Oh, yeah,
That's the truth.
So let's be proud. Anybody else got sick reports? Bereavement report. Talking about y'all just trying to be late tonight. What? Ain't that on TV? They say that when they no basketball.
They had a
Say nothing
baseball.
on TV. No,
They had a baseball game.
no football. He said nothing.
No, nothing.
He
I
said
ran
nothing.
into baseball traffic coming down here, but I'm not a big baseball fan.
Well, guess what? Guess what? Ain't nobody in here. who's a big baseball fan.
I stopped watching baseball when Willie Mays retired. That was 1972. I was a big Willie Mays fan.
I started watching it when I started. I was in the stadium. Brother, bought me some free tickets. I'm in that stadium, man. What boy? A-Rod. And A-Rod run there hit a single or double. Over in some runs, man. Next time he got the back, he knocked the home run, man. That's about 6 innings. It looked like, and everything kind of went into come back. See, the thing about football, when your team don't have the ball, they still might get interception or fumble and run for a touchdown. In baseball, when your team ain't got the ball, don't get nothing. I'm in that stadium, man, it's hot. They ain't got no air in this stadium back here. And they talk about the 7-inning stretch.
Mm-hmm.
They start playing all that music. I'm sweating in this seat. Bored to death. It's almost like golf. It's like golf. When you're playing golf, it's all right. I can play golf. But man, you got to watch it. Like coach me like that. It's like watching grass grow. So, no, I don't watch no baseball like I don't watch no golf. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I got the point. I guess I'm getting old. I don't watch too much any of it now because it's all fixed. You know, between the referees, cheating, and now y'all made up goats. Y'all making everybody a goat now. I ain't doing it. I'm that cynical old man that used to be talking.
Out of all of them, I still love a good track meet.
What?
Track meet.
Man, if you don't want track meet, you might as well watch horses run.
I still like.
Kentucky Derby. They cheating on that now. They took a race on the horse on Kentucky Derby last year. You know, they done messed that up too.
Checking the horses with.
Yeah, with chemicals and stuff. Oh, man.
All of them doing, the horse ain't running that bad.
Well, you know,
They
man.
know something.
You know. It's like that boy from Canada was that on the record, and they found out he was into
They
that.
mad about that. They didn't tell him what he went in and no, we
And it's just everything contaminated. They get me, they ain't gonna bet. What's that boy they come out with a gambler?
Oh, I know you're talking.
Pete Rose.
Pete Rose.
Won't let Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame come with a gamble. And that's all that Babe Ruth was doing, man. Babe Ruth was gambling and carousing, and they talk about he's in the Hall of Fame.
You can't even watch a sporting event right now without an ad commercial about gambling. You can bet on anything.
That's all they do.
But you can gamble on what shoes, the gloves on weather. You can gamble on this crazy.
That's the kind of world we live in, man. See, that's why I'm talking about this. You know, I get my joy in the Lord, man. You know, you almost have, I see how the kids play the computer game. I used to have more fun playing football on the computer than I did watching the real fellas play. Don't y'all listen to me, I'm not doing it. But Brother Eddie ready to go, man. He done got his call. We already on overtime. Got his call.
Hot dog it. Everybody ain't able.
Yeah, let's stand.
You said they're not on TV, but I don't want
I got to ask you something before you leave tonight. But Ray was here for y'all prayer. He was, oh, he wanted to do the closing prayer. Do the closing prayer now.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
We're thinking about all the executive study, there's a lot about things that can happen. Like take that on and be able to do the same all the time in our lives. So we can only be like that if we trust in you. Show us the way. So be the light that is in our lives. That will make our church, Father. Church family, I ask you to pray that the church is well, Father. Pray for men and women that are dedicated to the Lord.
Yes.
And I thought that we dismiss, go home with our traveling grace, to take us all back home safe and sound, let us find our home to what we know. We ask one more time, church, for God. In the right hand, give us the right mind and spirit.
Yes.
Bless it all. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, thanks.